Hi, I'm Rita Peterson with Everything Homemade. Today I am going to show you how easy it is to make homemade sauerkraut. First of all, you need a head of cabbage. So right here I have some green cabbage. Believe it or not, you can also use the red cabbage if you like. But we're going to use green here. And what I like to do is have everything set up when I first start to make sauerkraut. So the cabbage, the knife, gloves, if you want. I use the food processor. You could do this by chopping, but I find the food processor saves so much time. Your jars, you need 2 canning jars for 1 head of cabbage. And a bowl set up over here, which we'll get to now. I use gloves, not because I don't want to touch the cabbage. It's because of the salt when I'm mixing in to the cabbage. If you got any cuts, the salt's going to really let you know that those cuts are there. For cleanliness, and I find just overall my hands don't dry out when I'm doing sauerkraut. So I use gloves. So what you want to do is you want to take the first leaves off of the cabbage, and these ones I discard. The reason is because you don't want to wash the cabbage or sterilize the cabbage before you make the sauerkraut, because you're going to use the natural bacteria that's on the cabbage to ferment the cabbage itself. So organic cabbage would be the best. You're not going to go wrong if you just go to Superstore and buy cabbage, and that's what I've done here because the price was good. But you want to make sure that, you don't want it really dirty, but you don't want to put a cleaner over it. So next thing I want to do is I want to take another leaf layer off here. And this is going to be really important later on. This is going to help keep your cabbage down in your jar. And try to make it, this one's not coming off as great, but it'll do. This is going to be critical. So you want 2 leaves set aside for later use per cabbage head. So if you're doing 2 of these, you want 4 of these off. Perfect. So now we have our cabbage ready to go. So what I like to do is I like to cut this off here. And I have a little bowl here where I'm just throwing all this in. And I cut this in half. Perfect. So I'm going to cut it as big as my food processor will take it. And then I am going to put this through the food processor, and this is the largest grade, okay? And so just give me about 5 minutes here, and I am going to grade all of this, and I'm going to transfer it into the bowl. You can turn it off now, right? Okay, so now I am all done grading, and I'm going to just take this off. And I am going to move it over here. And I'm going to dump it into this bowl. And I'm going to introduce my helper here. And this is Ocean. She's my 7-year-old, and she will be helping here with sauerkraut. So I'm going to dump this all into the bowl here. I'm going to scrape out my container and get all the good grated sauerkraut out. Or cabbage, I guess it's not sauerkraut yet. So what I'm going to do here is with the cabbage in the bowl, and you can see how nice and grated it is. What I'm going to do for every head of cabbage you use, you want 2 tablespoons of salt. And this will help, 1, activate the good bacteria, and 2, kill the bad bacteria. So this is very important. Now you might think this is a lot of salt. It won't be that salty after the fermentation process is over. So we sprinkle this over our cabbage. And this is real sea salt. It still has its minerals in it. It doesn't cause any discoloration or flavor to be off. So Ocean is going to now, we're going to start mixing it. So if you want to take a look at this, all right, in the bowl, we're going to start mixing this salt in, and Ocean will continue doing that and getting it right from the bottom and really mixing this salt in. And what the salt's going to do, it's going to pull out all the juices. So we usually keep working this for a matter of 8 to 10 minutes. And I'm going to add caraway seeds. Now, these caraway seeds here is about a tablespoon I use for a head of cabbage. So I'm going to put those in there now while she goes ahead and squishes it up. And it just gives a really nice flavor. Now, you don't need to add the caraway. You can even add fennel seeds if you want to, which gives it a really licorice taste. But you don't need to add it in if you don't want to. And we're just going to make sure we get the bottom here. And what you can notice here, even after the few minutes that she's been mixing, I'm going to squeeze this cabbage, and you can see the juices start coming out. And that's what you want. So we're going to continue this for another 8 to 10 minutes of squishing this down and working this cabbage. Okay, now we go 10 minutes after here of squishing and really mixing the sauerkraut. And as I squeeze, you can just see all the juice. And that is exactly what you want to happen. So I'm just going to mix that back up. So now you want to fill your canning jars. So let's go ahead and fill our canning jars up here. So what I want to do is I take handfuls, and this can get a little bit messy. And I start filling my canning jars. And then I press it down. Now you want to press it down to release the juices, because you're using the juices of the cabbage to as your brine. So you want to get as much air space out as you can. Get it down there. And the other thing, what I have learned doing this, is never ever fill your canning jar to the very top, because it will either pop your lid, could explode your jar. The juices you'll end up having juices dripping all over your jar, so you don't want to do that. Now, that's about enough head space there. And you can do these in bigger jars too, if you want to. So there's a canning jar full, and what's going to happen after is the liquid is going to rise. So now this is where, when we took off a piece of cabbage, this is where we're going to use it. So I'm just going to go over here and grab a piece of it, and I'm just going to actually take this off. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually tuck this down onto the side here, and just basically putting like a lid over the cabbage. And the cabbage leaf here gets really tight to the glass and holds down your cabbage. And you can notice the liquid coming up, and it's like acts like a weight. It's absolutely amazing. And so you want to press it down as much as you can. Perfect. And I would want a little more brine than that with this one. So I have some filtered water here, and I'm just going to add a little bit more water to cover the top. And this one is all done. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take the canning lid on, and I would take, let's say, some paper towel, just clean this up a little bit on top, put your canning lid on. After you're done with your canning lid, what you want to do is take the container and put it in a lasagna dish, or put it on a cookie dish, something that's going to grab any juices that are actually going to come out of your canning jar. And you're going to put it on your counter, and I put a tea cloth over it, because light does destroy what's in your jar. So you want to put it on your counter, leave it for 2 to 3 days. If your house is really warm, you want to have it maybe only max 2 days. If your house is, like 22 degrees, 21, 22, 3 days, and you'll start noticing on your canning jar little bubbles. And that is really, really good. And what I do is every morning when I'm making breakfast, I unscrew the canning lid and I take it off, and I let it open and let the gases escape for about a minute. And that way the pressure doesn't build up. Because I don't have fancy equipment to release the gases naturally, I just do that in the morning. And then I let it sit on the counter for the rest of the day. If for some reason the level of your brine is too high, let's say it's going all over your jar, take some brine out, put your gloves on, push it back, the cabbage back down, and then make sure the brine's about, like a centimeter over, and then start again. If it is, for some reason, not enough brine, and you realize that the cabbage has lifted up, then just add a little bit of water. That's all you need to do. And then as long as it's a good smell, nothing off, it's perfect. So after 3 days, transfer it into the fridge. Then after a week, eat it and enjoy it. And that's how easy it is to make homemade sauerkraut. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, Everything Homemade, and comment. I'd love to hear from you.